You know what I've noticed after all these years of working with people from every walk of life? Most folks are waiting for permission that's never going to come. They're standing at the edge of their own life, looking around, wondering if it's okay to finally take what's theirs. And while they're waiting, while they're checking with everyone else, time is slipping away like water through their fingers. Let me tell you something that might sting a little bit. Nobody's going to tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, it's your turn now, go ahead and become extraordinary. That's not how life works. Life doesn't send you an engraved invitation to start living fully. And here's the harder truth. The people around you, most of them don't want you to have that permission either. Not because they're bad people, but because your growth reminds them of their own stagnation. I had a student once, brilliant fellow, full of ideas and potential. He came to one of my seminars back in the early days, and I could see it in his eyes, that spark, that hunger. We talked after the event, and he laid out his dreams for me. He wanted to start a business, write a book, make something of himself. I got excited for him. I said, when are you starting? And you know what he told me? I'm not quite ready yet. I need to take a few more courses, read a few more books, talk to a few more people. Fair enough, I thought. Preparation is important. 10 years later, I saw him again. Same spark in his eyes, same dreams, same excuses. He'd taken more courses, all right. He'd read more books. He'd talk to more people. But he hadn't started. Not really. He was still preparing, still waiting for someone to tell him he was ready. 5 years after that, I heard he'd given up entirely. 30 years old had become 40, and 40 had become 45, and somewhere along the way, he'd decided his dreams were for younger people. All that potential, all that preparation, and nothing to show for it but a shelf full of certificates and a heart full of regret. Here's what I've learned. We've been trained, almost from birth, to apologize for our ambitions. Think about it. When you were a kid and you said you wanted to be something great, what happened? If you were lucky, people encouraged you. But more often than not, someone maybe with good intentions started managing your expectations. That's nice, honey, but have you thought about something more realistic? As if realistic and extraordinary were somehow on opposite ends of the spectrum. We live in a culture that celebrates humility to the point of self-erasure. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about arrogance. Arrogance is hollow and brittle. But somewhere along the way, we confused confidence with conceit, ambition with selfishness, and self-improvement with self-absorption. We learn to apologize for wanting more, for being more, for demanding more from ourselves and our circumstances. I remember when I first started making real money, not just getting by, but actually building wealth. And you know what surprised me most? The guilt. Here I was, doing exactly what I'd worked for, and I felt guilty about it. Guilty that I had more than my parents had at my age. Guilty that some of my old friends were still struggling while I was thriving. Guilty for spending money on myself, for living in a nicer house, for being able to say no to things I didn't want to do. That guilt almost destroyed everything I'd built. Because guilt is heavy, and you can't climb while you're carrying unnecessary weight. I had to sit down with myself and ask some hard questions. Was I hurting anyone by succeeding? No. Was I taking anything from anyone else by improving my life? No. Was I being dishonest or unethical? No. Then where was this guilt coming from? It was coming from conditioning. From years of messages telling me that wanting more was somehow wrong, that choosing myself was selfish, that putting my dreams first was inconsiderate. Here's the thing about choosing yourself. It feels selfish at first because you've been programmed to believe it is. But let me ask you something. Is it selfish for a farmer to tend his own fields before helping his neighbors? Is it selfish for a doctor to stay healthy so she can treat patients? Is it selfish for a parent to maintain their own sanity so they can raise stable children? Of course not. That's not selfishness. That's wisdom. That's self-preservation. That's understanding that you can't give what you don't have. But we live in a world that will gladly applaud you for burning yourself out in service to others while silently judging you for taking an hour to work on your own dreams. We've created this bizarre economy of martyrdom where the person who sacrifices everything is somehow more noble than the person who builds something sustainable. And it's destroying people. It's destroying dreams. It's destroying potential. Let me tell you what happens when you don't choose yourself. At first it seems noble. You put your spouse's dreams ahead of yours. You work the job your parents wanted you to have. You stay in the city because your friends are there, even though opportunity is somewhere else. You dim your light so others don't feel uncomfortable in their darkness. And everyone applauds you for being such a team player, such a giving person, such a reliable friend. But then something starts to happen. Slowly at first, so slowly, you might not even notice it, you start to resent the very people you're sacrificing for. You look at your spouse and think about the business you never started because you were supporting their career. You look at your parents and remember the path you wanted to take that they talked you out of. You look at your friends and realize they're not actually going anywhere, and neither are you because you've tied yourself to their anchor. And the worst part? The absolute worst part is that your sacrifice doesn't even help them the way you think it does. Your spouse didn't ask you to give up your dreams. Your parents wanted you to be happy, not obedient. Your friends, real friends, want you to soar, not stay grounded with them. The sacrifice you thought was noble was actually a burden you placed on everyone around you. Because now they have to live with the knowledge that you gave up who you could have been for who they needed you to be. I watched this happen to a good friend of mine. Brilliant guy, talented, creative, full of fire. He had a chance to move across the country for an opportunity that could have changed everything for him. But his family needed him, his girlfriend wanted him to stay, his buddies didn't want to lose their fourth for poker night. And for a while, everyone was happy. Everyone except him. Years went by, and I watched the light dim in his eyes. He got married, had kids, went through the motions. On paper, he had a good life. But there was something missing, something essential. He'd given up his dreams so completely that he'd forgotten how to dream at all. And here's the kicker, his wife resented him for it. She'd fallen in love with a man who was going somewhere, and instead she got a man who'd stopped moving. His kids grew up watching a father go through the motions, and they learned that's what adults do. They settle, they sacrifice, they stop reaching. The people he stayed for didn't get the best version of him. They got the diminished version, the resentful version, the version that had amputated his own potential to fit into a life that was too small for him. That's not love, that's not sacrifice, that's not noble, that's tragedy. See, here's what nobody tells you about not choosing yourself. It compounds. Every day you put yourself last. You're not just losing that day, you're losing the next day too, because you wake up a little more depleted, a little more resentful, a little more distant from who you're supposed to be. And those days turn into weeks, and weeks into months, and months into years, and before you know it, you're looking back at a life you didn't choose, wondering where all the time went. The saddest people I've ever met aren't the ones who tried and failed. They're the ones who never tried at all because they were too busy apologizing for wanting to. They're the ones who had the talent but not the audacity, the dreams but not the courage, the potential but not the permission. And they spent their entire lives waiting for someone to tell them it was okay to be great. But that permission never came. And now it's too late, and all they have are their excuses and their regrets and their stories about what could have been if only. You know what? I refuse to let that be you. I refuse to let you waste another day apologizing for the ambition that's burning inside you. I refuse to let you shrink yourself down to make others comfortable. I refuse to let you trade your one shot at an extraordinary life for the comfort of not making waves. You've been waiting for permission long enough. Consider this your wake-up call. Consider this your sign. Consider this the moment everything changes, not because I gave you permission, but because you finally gave it to yourself. Now, let me tell you what happens when you consistently put yourself last, because this is where it gets real. This is where we stop talking about theory and start talking about the actual cost, the price tag on a life lived in service to everyone's comfort but your own. I want you to think about this for a moment. What does it actually look like when you abandon yourself day after day? It's not dramatic. It's not this big, obvious thing. It's small decisions, little compromises, tiny surrenders. You don't take that course because the money could go to something the family needs. You don't apply for that position because it would mean longer hours and less time with friends. You don't speak up in the meeting because you don't want to seem too aggressive. You don't start that business because what if you fail and everyone sees it? Each decision seems reasonable in isolation. Each compromise seems like the mature thing to do. But you know what's happening? You're teaching yourself that your dreams come last. You're programming yourself to believe that everyone else's needs are more legitimate than yours. You're training yourself out of your own ambition, one small surrender at a time. I had a friend, let me tell you about Richard. Richard was one of those guys who had it all figured out. Sharp mind, good heart, real talent for building things. He was working a regular job, but on the side he was developing this business idea. It was good, really good. He had the plan, he had the skills. He even had some early customers. He was 6 months away from being able to quit his job and do this thing full-time. Then his brother-in-law lost his job. Family was struggling, needed help. Richard stepped in, like Richard always did, took on extra hours at work to help with their bills, put his business on hold just temporarily, he said, just until they get back on their feet. Then his mother got sick. Not seriously, but she needed someone to check on her, help her out. Richard did it. Of course he did. That's what good sons do, right? His business, still on hold, still temporary. His wife wanted to go back to school. They needed his income to stay steady. His kids wanted to stay in their school district, which meant staying in the expensive neighborhood. His friends wanted him to coach Little League because he was so good with the kids. And Richard said yes to all of it. Every single request, every single need, every single call for help, Richard showed up. Richard provided. Richard sacrificed. 10 years later, I ran into Richard at a grocery store. You know what he was doing? Same job, same routine, same life. That business, long dead. That potential, buried under a decade of everyone else's emergencies. And here's what broke my heart. Richard was angry. Not at the people he'd helped, he couldn't admit that. Even to himself. He was angry at life, angry at circumstances, angry at God, angry at the economy. He was angry at everything except the real source of his frustration. He'd abandoned himself so completely that he didn't even recognize who he was anymore. But here's the part that really matters, the part that nobody wants to talk about. His sacrifice didn't actually help anyone the way he thought it would. Eventually got another job, would have figured it out regardless. His mother would have been fine with a different arrangement. His wife, she never finished that degree because somewhere along the way, watching Richard give up his dreams made her question her own. His kids, they learned that dreams are things you talk about, not things you do. They learned that responsibility means giving up what you want for what others need. The resentment that builds when you consistently abandon yourself, it's poison. It seeps into everything. Your marriage becomes a reminder of what you gave up. Your kids become the reason you couldn't pursue your path. Your friends become witnesses to your sacrifice. And none of them asked for this burden. None of them wanted to be the reason you stopped growing. You can't pour from an empty cup. That's not just a nice saying, it's mathematics. Let me break it down for you. Say you've got 100 units of energy every day. If you're giving 90 of those units to everyone else and keeping 10 for yourself, what happens? At first, maybe you keep up, but you're not refilling. You're not growing. You're not developing new capacities. So next month, you don't have 100 units anymore, you've got 80, then 60, then 40. And you're still trying to give 90 away. Eventually, you've got nothing left. You're exhausted, depleted, running on fumes. And now when people need you, and they will need you, you can't show up the way you want to. You're irritable, distracted, resentful. The help you give isn't generous anymore, it's grudging. The time you spend isn't quality, it's just presence. You're there, but you're not really there. And everyone feels it. Here's what living small looks like in real terms. It's the woman who won't take the promotion because it might make her husband feel inadequate, so she stays stuck while her talent withers. It's the man who won't move for the opportunity of a lifetime because his buddies might feel abandoned, so he stays stagnant while his potential dies. It's the parent who won't pursue their passion because they think good parents sacrifice everything, so they model martyrdom instead of fulfillment for their children. It's staying in relationships that stopped serving you years ago because leaving would be selfish. It's working jobs that bore you to tears because quitting would be irresponsible. It's living in cities you've outgrown because moving would be disloyal. It's being who everyone needs you to be instead of who you're capable of becoming. And you know what the really cruel joke is? When you live small, you teach everyone around you to do the same. Your children don't learn to reach for stars, they learn to manage expectations. Your spouse doesn't learn to support big dreams, they learn to settle for comfortable ones. Your friends don't learn to celebrate ambition, they learn to normalize mediocrity. I remember the moment I recognized my own self-abandonment. I was sitting in a meeting, listening to someone pitch an idea I'd had 6 months earlier but never voiced. I'd kept quiet because I didn't want to rock the boat, didn't want to seem like I was overstepping, didn't want to make anyone uncomfortable. And there was someone else taking that idea and running with it, and everyone was applauding them for it. I sat there feeling sorry for myself for about 5 minutes. Then reality hit me like a freight train. Nobody stole anything from me. I'd given it away. I'd surrendered it. I'd chosen silence over risk, comfort over courage, smallness over significance. And the only person responsible for that choice was me. That's when I realized something profound. The world doesn't need more accommodating people. We've got plenty of those. The world needs people who've chosen themselves, who've invested in themselves, who've developed themselves to the point where they actually have something valuable to offer. You know what's more useful? Someone who's perpetually exhausted from helping everyone, or someone who's energized, capable, and skilled because they invested in their own growth. Think about it this way. If you're on an airplane and the oxygen masks drop, they tell you to put yours on first before helping others. Because a conscious, capable you is more valuable than a passed out you with good intentions. Life works the same way. A thriving, growing, fulfilled you is infinitely more valuable to everyone around you than a depleted, resentful, diminished you who sacrificed everything. Here's something else nobody tells you. There's a hidden arrogance in playing small. You think you're being humble, but what you're really saying is, my comfort is more important than my contribution. My fear of judgment is more important than my potential impact. My need to be liked is more important than my capacity to make a difference. When you have a gift and you bury it because you're afraid of what people will think, that's not humility, that's waste. When you have potential and you suppress it because success might make others uncomfortable, that's not consideration, that's cowardice. When you have something to offer the world and you hold it back because stepping forward feels selfish, that's not nobility, that's theft. You're stealing from yourself, first of all. You're stealing the life you could have lived, the person you could have become, the impact you could have made. But you're also stealing from everyone who needed what only you could give them. Because here's the truth. Your specific combination of talents, experiences, perspectives, and dreams exists for a reason. You're not an accident. Your ambitions aren't random. That thing inside you that keeps whispering, there's got to be more than this, that's not selfishness talking. That's purpose trying to get your attention. Every day you spend living small, you're not just limiting yourself. You're limiting everyone who could have been influenced by your growth, inspired by your courage, helped by your success, or transformed by your example. That's the real cost of not choosing yourself. That's the price tag on a life spent apologizing for your potential. And it's a cost the world can't afford to keep paying. You know, we need to redefine this whole concept of selfishness, because somewhere along the way, we got it all twisted up. We started believing that taking care of yourself is somehow opposed to taking care of others. That investing in yourself means you're taking something away from someone else. That choosing yourself means abandoning everyone else. It's the kind of selfishness that recognizes you're a resource that needs maintenance. You're a tool that needs sharpening. You're a well that needs refilling. And if you don't take care of that resource, sharpen that tool, refill that well, then pretty soon you've got nothing left to give anybody, including yourself. Think about the airplane oxygen mask again. They don't tell you to put your mask on first because they want you to be selfish. They tell you that because a conscious parent can save a child, but an unconscious parent saves nobody. That's not selfishness, that's wisdom. That's understanding how reality actually works instead of how we wish it worked. The strongest trees grow alone before they form forests. You ever notice that? A tree that's going to live for hundreds of years, that's going to provide shade and shelter and oxygen for countless creatures, that tree doesn't start out in the middle of a crowd. It needs space to develop deep roots. It needs room for its branches to spread. It needs time to establish itself before it can become part of something bigger. Same thing with people. You need seasons of what looks like selfishness so you can develop the strength to be truly useful. You need time alone with your dreams before you can bring those dreams to life in a way that serves others. You need to build your own foundation before you can be a pillar in someone else's life. Here's what I learned after years of watching people succeed and fail. The ones who made the biggest difference were the ones who chose themselves first. Not in a narcissistic way, there's a difference, and it's important. Narcissism is empty. It's taking without giving, demanding without earning, receiving without reciprocating. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is healthy self-priority. It's saying I'm going to invest in my education so I have more to teach. It's saying I'm going to build my business so I can employ people. It's saying I'm going to work on my health so I can be around longer for the people I love. It's saying I'm going to pursue my dreams so I can show my children what's possible. I had to learn to say no, and it was one of the hardest things I ever did. I'm naturally a helper. I like being useful. I like being needed. But there came a point where every yes to someone else was a no to myself. Every hour I spent solving someone else's problem was an hour I wasn't spending building my own capacity. And I realized something. Most of the time, people didn't actually need me. They just wanted me because I was convenient. The first time I said no to something I would have normally said yes to, I felt terrible, guilty, anxious, worried about what they'd think. But you know what happened? Nothing. They found another solution. They figured it out. And I had time to work on something that actually moved my life forward. That taught me something valuable. Your absence creates space for other people's growth too. Here's how you tell the difference between real responsibility and imposed obligation. Real responsibility is what you've actually committed to your children, your spouse, your genuine obligation. Imposed obligation is everything else people try to make you feel guilty about. It's the friend who's mad you can't drop everything to help them move for the third time this year. It's the family member who thinks you should sacrifice your opportunity because they're uncomfortable with change. It's the coworker who resents your success because it highlights their stagnation. Guilt is often manipulation in disguise. Not always intentional manipulation. Sometimes people don't even realize they're doing it. But when someone tries to make you feel bad for growing, for changing, for choosing yourself, what they're really saying is, your growth is inconvenient for me, and I want you to stay the same so I don't have to deal with my own life. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your growth. You really don't. You don't need to justify why you're going back to school, why you're starting a business, why you're moving to a new city, why you're ending a relationship that's run its course, why you're pursuing that dream everyone thinks is impractical. Your life is yours to live. And every moment you spend explaining yourself to people who aren't paying your bills or walking in your shoes is a moment wasted. Now, there are seasons when you absolutely must choose yourself, and if you miss these seasons, you miss your window. When you're young and unattached, that's a season for choosing yourself. When your kids are grown and gone, that's another season. When you've recovered from a setback and need to rebuild, that's a season. When opportunity knocks and won't knock twice, that's a season. These moments don't last forever, and if you miss them being accommodating to everyone else, they don't come back around. The power of unapologetic pursuit is something most people never experience. They pursue their goals, but they do it apologetically. They try to succeed, but quietly so nobody notices. They attempt to grow, but not too much, not too fast, not in a way that might make anyone uncomfortable. And you know what that does? It cuts your power in half. You can't run full speed while constantly looking over your shoulder to make sure you're not upsetting anyone. When you choose yourself without apology, without justification, without guilt, that's when everything changes. That's when your energy is fully directed toward your goal instead of divided between your goal and everyone's opinion about your goal. That's when you stop asking permission and start taking action. That's when you move from wondering if you can to proving that you will. This isn't about becoming a selfish person. It's about becoming a whole person. It's about being so full, so developed, so capable that what overflows from your life actually has value. Empty people have nothing to give. Depleted people give reluctantly. But people who've chosen themselves, who've invested in themselves, who've built themselves up, those people give generously because they're giving from abundance, not from obligation. So now we get to the part that matters most. What are you actually going to do about this? Because understanding is worthless without action, and awareness without change is just well-informed regret waiting to happen. Here's where you start. You make one decision today that puts you first. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when things settle down today. Maybe it's blocking off an hour to work on that project you keep putting off. Maybe it's saying no to something you would normally say yes to. Maybe it's investing money in yourself instead of spending it on something that doesn't matter. One decision. That's all. But make it count. Now, let me tell you what's going to happen when you start choosing yourself. People are going to push back. They're going to question you. They're going to make you feel like you're being selfish, like you're changing, like you're not the person they thought you were. And you know what? They're right. You're not the person they thought you were. You're the person you actually are, and they've been benefiting from you pretending to be someone else. I know a woman, Maria, who decided at 42 that she was done living small. She'd spent 20 years being everyone's everything. The dependable friend, the selfless mother, the accommodating wife, the reliable employee. And one day she looked in the mirror and didn't recognize herself anymore, so she made a decision. She was going to pursue the art career she'd abandoned in her 20s. First week, she told her friends she couldn't do their usual Thursday night get-together because she'd enrolled in a painting class. You'd think she'd announced she was joining a cult. "You're changing," they said. "You're not fun anymore. We never see you." What they really meant was, "Your growth is highlighting our stagnation, and we don't like it." Her family wasn't much better. Her husband felt threatened by her newfound passion. Her kids resented that she wasn't as available as before. But Maria held firm. She kept showing up to her class. She kept painting. She kept choosing herself. And here's what happened. Within 6 months, 3 of her friends had enrolled in their own courses. Her husband started working on a project he'd abandoned years ago. Her teenage daughter started taking her own dreams more seriously. That's the thing about choosing yourself. It gives other people permission to do the same. Your courage becomes contagious. Your example becomes permission. Your growth becomes an invitation. Here's your 90-day experiment. For the next 3 months, you're going to make yourself a priority. Not your only priority, but a priority. Every day, you're going to do something that moves your own life forward. Spend an hour on your business. Take that course. Go to the gym. Work on your skill. Read that book. Write that chapter. Whatever it is that you've been putting off because everyone else needed you, do it. Some practical decisions this looks like: you stop answering calls during your designated work time. You stop explaining your choices to people who aren't invested in your success. You stop attending events out of obligation. You stop lending money you can't afford to lose. You stop giving advice to people who won't take it. You stop apologizing for having boundaries. When people question your new boundaries, and they will, you don't owe them a dissertation. "I'm focusing on some personal goals right now" is a complete sentence. "That doesn't work for me," requires no further explanation. "I appreciate you thinking of me, but I can't" needs no justification. You're not being rude, you're being clear. Yes, you'll lose some people. That friend who only called when they needed something, they'll disappear. That family member who relied on you to fix their recurring problems, they'll be upset. That coworker who depended on you to cover their slack, they'll call you selfish. And you know what? That's okay. People who only value you for what you do for them don't actually value you at all. The compound effect of daily self-respect is extraordinary. 6 months of choosing yourself every single day doesn't just change your circumstances, it changes your identity. You stop being someone who waits for permission, you become someone who takes action. You stop being someone who apologizes for ambition, you become someone who expects success. You stop being someone who shrinks to fit. You become someone who expands to fill. This creates a life that doesn't require constant justification. When you're consistent about choosing yourself, people stop questioning it. It becomes who you are, not something you're trying to get away with. Your boundaries become expected rather than surprising. Your priorities become clear rather than confusing. So here's my challenge to you. What are you going to do in the next 24 hours? Not someday, not when things calm down, not when you feel ready, tomorrow. What's the one choice you're going to make that says, "I matter, my dreams matter, my growth matters"? Because here's the truth we started with. Nobody's going to give you permission. But the beautiful thing, you don't need it. You never did.